Paul Phister is going to be speaking to us about the global space train.
Pete and I did a paper on the interplanetary transportation system, which we're going to call the galactic space train. And I'm just going to tell you a story because I think that's the best way to explain this. Let's say you want to go to Mars, right? You're a scientist, you're an engineer, you're a maintenance worker, you're a bartender, you're a cook, a maid. It doesn't really matter because by using this train system to go to Mars, you now open up Mars to any person who wants to go there to work. So you don't have to be an astronaut or whatever. So let's assume then oops. Let's say what you do is you go and you arrive at the Earthport, and then you wait for your space train, which are the space elevator, and then you take the space elevator up to the Earth train station, which is roughly about 90,000 kilometers up because you want to match the speed of the train. Now you're in a waiting room and you're waiting for the galactic train and it approaches. You board the, now this galactic train is based on Buzz Aldrin's cycle. It continuously travels between the Earth and Mars and it just never stops. It rotates. It actually has a rotating so that it will simulate gravity. So when you enter on the Earthport, you're at the Earth gravity. And when you go to Mars, it actually slowly changes you down to the Earth gravity to acclimate you to the when you get off. Right? Once aboard the train, you have to do, here's the picture of the train which some University of Arizona students built, or it's just a graphic representation of the train. Your taxi will come and attach to the galactic train as it comes by. And the taxi then now, since it's attached to the train, will continue to Mars. You get off the taxi and you get into the space train. And since the trip is anywhere from 440 to 400 days, or as the previous brief said, maybe 800 days, but that's a long time, you actually can use the facilities that are on the train. There's a dining area where you eat. There's your lounge area, there's your sleeping area, and you're actually given an area that you can do work. Well, if you're going to be on a space train for like 400 days, let's say, that's a lot of work you can get done on your way to Mars. Okay? Now, the goal there is to provide some day-to-day activities for the trip. Now, once you get to Mars, we're looking at, you get off at the Mars's moon Phobos. You get back into taxi. The taxi then takes you down to the surface of Phobos, which is the train station for Mars. Once there, you get on the space elevator and take the space elevator down to the Martian surface. And from that point, call that the Mars port. And from there, you take a surface transport or whatever to wherever you're going to go. So this system is built to do massive either materials or people continuously between Earth and Mars. And that's basically the concept. And Pete and I's got a paper that's going to be published soon. And I guess we're going to present it at Dubai next year or Paris next year. But it's a way of showing how normal people can go to Mars. You don't have to be fancy. And this cycler that continuously rotates, right, will pick up passengers, drop off passengers, right? And you kind of live on it while you're there in a gravity situation. So you walk around like, well, that's it. Do you have any questions? Okay,
Paul, let me jump in real quick. I
sure.
think Paul did a really a marvelous job writing the paper and everything, but the arena that we're talking about is a remarkable jump in capability. Buzz Aldrin came up with this cycler idea way back when, but nobody could implement it because he needed a velocity at the Earth at 190,000 kilometers of 6.7 kilometers per second. And the Earth-based rockets going to Mars only leave the Earth's domain at 2 kilometers per second. So for the cycler concept to work, they had to add another 4 kilometers per second in velocity leaving the Earth, which is humongous. That's almost as much as leaving the Earth's surface. So the concept of cyclers just sat there. But what Paul recognized was that we have a location on the Earth tether that matches speeds. So you just go up and get in a taxi and match speeds and you're set. And then at the other end, we've got a Mars elevator that matches speeds at 9.77. So it turns out that by doing space elevators on both ends, you've really shown how Buzz Aldrin's cycler concept can really be implemented in a reasonable manner. And then, of course, Paul came up with the idea that if you're going to have a cycler, you might as well have a cruise ship. He calls it the space train, but I like the cruise ship. But anyway, but the real kicker is you go one for a period of time and you can really do a lot of stuff, and it's a trip. It's not a small capsule for 9 months or something like that. So it really is a step in the right direction, leveraging space elevators to do what other people have thought about, which is really pretty neat in my mind. So yeah, Paul did all the hard work on that. I just stole an image from one of my student groups, and they agreed to allow to use it, but it really was a good design.
And lastly, it does open, as Pete says, it does open up the market that normal people who are not space people can board a train, a taxi. To them, it's normal to them. They would be under gravity. They can do the trip, and then when they get to the other end, they go down to the surface, go to their job. As I said, they could be a bartender, a cook, a maid. It doesn't really matter. They go to their job on Mars for whatever period of time that they're working, which, Pete likes to call it a cruise ship, but a cruise ship does the same thing. You got people from various countries sign up for a period of time to work the cruise ship, and then when their time is up, they go home. Well, it's the same thing here. They would go to Mars, work there a year and a half, whatever they signed up for, then come back home. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Paul, for that presentation.